Good morning, good life. You're listening to Detail Therapy, episode 59. Whether you're a morning person or not, it's probably crossed your mind at one point or another that if you got out of bed a little earlier, you would be able to do something you've been meaning to do. You watch all the routine videos, maybe even some of the ones that I've created, and you try to find your stride with getting up earlier. I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. tomorrow, you tell yourself. And then you try. You try so hard, but you're just not feeling it. You're groggy, can barely move your body. You hit the snooze again and again and again. And then you go back to sleep. Or for those of you who made it through the alarm phase and actually moved your body, you may have realized that the thing you've been wanting to do earlier in the morning is a little daunting. So you accidentally open up a social media app on your phone in those early hours, and suddenly your morning became more time soaking up content instead of creating the life you want. If you're still excited about the idea of waking up early but can't seem to figure out how to make it work for your life, today I'm going to share my tips for how to wake up at 5 a.m. without failing miserably.
She's an award-winning YouTuber and best-selling author obsessed with helping you go after the life you want.
I like it.
Join her as she seeks out the stories and strategies
Give me every little detail.
of extraordinary people who found success.
I'm going to get emotional. Oh my God.
Welcome to Detail Therapy with Amy Landino.
Hey, just you and me again. If you couldn't tell, I've been wanting to do more of these intimate conversations like this, just us on the podcast, kind of similar to YouTube. And today we're going to do just that while I talk about my favorite subject in the world, going after the life you want and leveraging morning time to make it happen. I have a question. What time do you wake up currently? It doesn't matter what your lifestyle's like. I'm not going to judge the time at all. Some of you might work a night shift and therefore have a very unconventional wake-up time, but it's your wake-up time. Your morning is your morning. But all I want to know right now is what time that is. What time do you wake up? If you're not driving right now and you have access to your phone, head over to @DetailsPodcast on Instagram and leave a comment with the time you wake up. I'm actually going to be randomly selecting a follower who leaves one of these comments to receive a signed copy of the book. So get on it. Now, you've got that time in mind. Think about it. Meditate on it a little bit. Are you happy with it? Do you feel rushed at that time typically? Is there a better time you've considered? Is it 5 a.m. or is it something else? What is your version of 5 a.m.? What is your ideal time? I only put 5 a.m. in the title of this podcast because I want you to stretch your thinking of what you're capable of in the morning. When can you greet the world and take it on like it's all yours? Waking up in a flurry to be somewhere for someone else is a great way to make sure that doesn't happen. Now, you've got your current wake-up time in mind and your ideal wake-up time in mind. So let's talk about how to get you from A to B. Before we jump into that, I would like to introduce myself. For those of you who are new to the show, my name is Amy Landino and I will be your host. You can think of me as your number one productive lifestyle coach. I am the founding creator of Gatlu House, a media company dedicated to helping you go after the life you want. In addition to this podcast, we produce the award-winning YouTube series, AMYTV, of which I am also the host. I've authored 2 best-selling books, including Good Morning, Good Life, which is now available on Amazon. And links to everything I mentioned will be in the show notes, as always, at detailspodcast.com. Speaking of books, and back to that one I just talked about, the sponsor of this episode is my book, Good Morning, Good Life. I just felt like it was a perfect thing to remind you of during this particular episode. This book, I put my blood, sweat, and tears into this one. I know I probably said that about the first one, but woo, this one was a total experience. I wrote it in 2019 and launched it at the end of the year just because I needed to make sure I got this in your hands to kick off 2020 right. And even if you listen to the last podcast and 2020 hasn't exactly been starting on the terms you've been hoping for, it's never too late to dive in. And in Good Morning, Good Life, I revealed the truth about mornings and how to create daily rituals that are truly right for you. The biggest issue I saw with morning routine books or morning routine videos is that it always seems like we have to do things somebody's way. No, we need to do it our way, but we need to have the right habits in place that are going to help us figure out what those things are. In the book, I talk about the 5 simple habits to master your mornings and upgrade your life, including deciding on your why and what will make you jump out of bed every day, how to defy the morning missteps that keep you from starting the day on the right foot, how to rise on a regular basis. I know you know how to get out of bed, but do you know how to do it right in a well-rested and prepared state? The next habit is to shine. Shine every day with the habits that you have found work for you in your routine. Not something somebody told you to do and you're giving it a try because someone else said it was great. Something that feels right for your life. And finally, the habit of thriving. We don't just live a morning, we live a life. So what do you do throughout the rest of the day to reinforce the good habits of your morning? That's what I talk about in the book, Good Morning, Good Life. It's a perfect complement to our conversation today. You can find out more details at goodmorninggoodlife.com or search your favorite Amazon Kindle or Audible apps to get your copy now. All right, let's get into it. How to wake up at 5 a.m. without failing miserably. And the key words there at the end, because there's a lot of ways to fail at waking up early. It's not just hitting the snooze. So we're going to talk about that today. Here are my tips. First, decide why you're doing this. I'm kind of giving a little bit of my book away, not going to lie. But let me tell you the biggest thing that trips people up in the morning. They don't know why the heck they're going to wake up early other than the fact that somebody else told them to do it. That's not enough. Even for those of you who identify as obligers, as Gretchen Rubin would talk about, one of the 4 tendencies when you are held accountable as an obliger, you tend to listen to outside sources on what you need to do rather than be driven internally. That's okay. You've just got to reverse engineer that. But I believe that even if somebody tells you you should wake up at 5 a.m., you're not going to oblige them unless they're going to pull your butt out of bed at 5 a.m. Let's be honest, right? So unless your significant other or your roommate or somebody is helping you to be accountable, it's not going to be enough. And for those of us like myself who tend to be more upholder, tend to be more questioner, you're not going to get up unless you've figured out a dang good reason why, because you listen to yourself the majority of the time. And therefore, if yourself doesn't have a good answer and nobody else is definitely giving you any bells to ring, it's just not going to happen. The biggest piece of this is being really honest with yourself. Why you do something is not the cute thing, is not the fun thing that we tell the whole world. It's truly how we are driven to move our butt. How are you driven to move? How are you driven to take action? What have you noticed about the things that you have done, the things that you have accomplished? What were those instances like? What drove you to make it happen? When we start to connect the dots on these things, we can have a very real conversation with ourselves about what moves us. And sometimes it's not something that we're going to go tell the whole world about, and that is okay. But if we're honest and we don't try to tell ourselves that we are wrong or that we are bad or that our thoughts are who we are, it just is what it is. Call it as it is. Be a stoic about it and just say, well, this is why I would do it. Is this a good enough reason? Is this going to make me get up? Because until you truly have something that you feel invested in, a why that makes you realize that you are capable of doing more for yourself, it ain't gonna happen. Just like nothing else is gonna happen. You're not gonna put yourself out there in any other way, including and not limited to getting up a little earlier to be with yourself. It's just a fact. It's the most arbitrary one on my list because it sounds so woo-wooey and it sounds so arbitrary. It's like, oh yeah, I know why. Because I like to have more time in my life. I like living my life. Okay, but is that going to be enough? Is that really going to get your butt out of bed? Probably not. Have a conversation with yourself tomorrow at your normal wake up time if you have to. And when you're frustrated with yourself, when you are not moving at the pace you need to, when you are not making things happen in the order that was ideal, talk to yourself about why something else would be better, why having more time would be better. Write that down. Put it on a sticky note. Put it everywhere. Put it on the background of your phone. Make it a notification in your alarms on your phone that goes off 4 times per day. So you have fully primed your mindset. Oh, I got the notification. Why I'm doing this 4 times today. So tonight, when I'm contemplating what time I'm going to go to bed, we'll get to that in a minute, I'm going to remember why it matters for me to wake up tomorrow. My next tip is to reverse engineer your bedtime. It's very simple. You're not going to wake up at 5 a.m. if you only got 4 hours of sleep, 5 hours of sleep, 6 hours of sleep. 6 hours of sleep isn't enough, folks. I got to remind myself of this all the time because I'm so convinced I need all the hours of the day. But I'm not going to maximize the hours of the day if I can't get the amount of sleep that I need. So very simply put, how many hours do you need to sleep? 7 or 8? Probably 8, most of us. But if you go with 7, that's my happy spot. I like 7 a lot. Pick 7. If you wake up at 5 a.m., you gotta be in bed by 10. It's very simple math. But not only do you need to be in bed by 10, you need to fall asleep by 10. So maybe you need to be in bed by 9:30. I talk about this in the book as the buffer period. The before time that you need to be falling asleep and the after time when you need to be waking up. I'm not making any real plans to do anything until 5:30 a.m. if I'm waking up at 5. Because I know for the first 30 minutes, I am a zombie, right? So beside that point, really plan on, okay, well, what time do I need to be kind of trying to fall asleep if I need to be asleep by 10? Decide what that is for you. Maybe you want some extra reading time, so you're going to be in bed 45 minutes before the point that you need to fall asleep. It's completely up to you. It's got to be a separation of all the things that are in your life so that you can start to be one just with your thoughts, just with your body, start to cool down. Lose the anxiety, lose the content that's coming at you, and fall asleep. We don't fall asleep as easily these days because we don't let go of our devices. That tip is coming up. So it's very important to recognize that these things are tripping us up when we reverse engineer our bedtime. We also need to set up that bedtime for success. If you're tuning into Netflix all the way up until 10 p.m., and then you go try to lay down in bed at 10 p.m., lay your head down, do you really think you're going to fall asleep? Not usually, unless you fell asleep during the show, right? But that's a different kind of sleep. That's not truly getting rest. So reverse engineer your bedtime based on what your goals are, because just because you want to wake up at 5 a.m. doesn't mean you have to make it happen no matter what time you went to bed. That's very unhealthy, and this morning wake up is not going to benefit you at all in turn. My next tip is to say goodnight to your devices in another room. I'm a strong believer. I remember having a TV in my bedroom, and I could not imagine not having a TV in my bedroom. And I just love that I am so adjusted away from that. It's something like, it's almost like a guilty pleasure when I'm in a hotel, because there's totally a hotel TV and there's a hotel bed and they're right next to each other, right? And I'll have the TV on. I'm like, ooh, I feel like I'm at a slumber party or something, right? But at home, it is the routine. There's no TV in my bedroom and there is no phone in my bedroom, at least at a certain point. My phone kind of follows me around for most of the day, but a half an hour before bed, my phone gets tucked in my office, in my cell phone bed. Yes, I have a cell phone bed for my cell phone. Plug it in, say goodnight, set my alarm, see you later, bye. That's it. I can't look at you the rest of the day because the rest of the day is only 30 more minutes and I need to be sleeping at the end of that timer. So making sure that all your devices, your iPads, even your Kindles, some Kindles, I'm noticing even my Kindle, I don't love bringing it to bed. I'd rather have a regular book because it's the fancy, I guess it's not fancy like Kindle Fire fancy. It's Kindle Oasis. So it still kind of has a little bit of brightness to it. You can adjust it, but it's still, I can tell it's definitely, my brain is ticking a little too hard when I'm trying to fall asleep. So a good old fashioned book next to my bed is completely ideal. Get those devices in the other room. Enjoy your TV time when it's TV time. Have it be intentional TV time in front of the TV, in your living room, in your den, in your whatever you call it. Spend that time where you like to spend it. And the time you're in bed and sleeping, if you can do this, I know some people are going to have studio apartments, some people are going to have different living conditions. Do the best that you can to separate yourself from those devices. The habit, it's amazing. If you're worried about how much time you spend on your phone, just please let me implore you that if you are worried about it, which I think all of us should just have, not worry, but we should be cognizant of it. If you have any concern, if you get into this habit, it's amazing how easily you can let your phone live throughout the day without touching it much more. When you just train yourself for the last half hour and the first half hour of the day to not play with it, or even just the last half hour of the day, if you can't do the rest, try very hard to just let yourself fall asleep with no devices. It's amazing when you train your body to operate without a device during certain hours of the day. I have moments where I'm like, oh man, I need to Google something. Oh man, I have an idea and I really want to put it in Evernote. Oh man, there's always an alternative. I can Google it tomorrow. I can make the note on note paper right now. End of story. I do not need my phone at that time. My sleep is much more important. My next tip is to leverage Mel Robbins' 5-second rule. I love this tip. It's such a good book to please pick up 5-second rule. We will link to it in the show notes. It's just amazing. It's science. It's reverse engineering your brain. When you count down with a plan, by the way, what's the plan? It's my alarm's going off and I am going to turn it off and I'm going to stay out of bed. That's the plan. Now count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Your brain is programmed to do the thing that you want it to do once you count down, not count up, count down from 5. Read Mel's book. It's incredible. You can learn all the fun sciencey crap about it, but it works. You can work against it too. You can still break the 5-second rule. You can get up. You can be up for a couple of seconds and be like, not worth it. I'm going back to bed. But if you use this rule and you are dedicated to the fact that this is a change you want to make in your life, this is very, very powerful and just a fun little hack. If you find yourself in a moment where you're like, I really don't want to do it. I really don't want to do it. I really don't want to do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do it. If you do it, if you take one baby step, you'll be amazed at how well this tactic works for you. My next tip is to always start with something that takes care of you. Like I said before, the first half hour of my day is dedicated to just letting myself learn how to be a human again. And usually I'm trying to put one foot in front of the other. I'm walking to the bathroom. I'm walking to my office. I'm walking to turn the coffee pot on. Very small movements. And the things that I do for me first thing in the morning are, and I'll talk about drinks in a little bit, but like my lemon water and my coffee and my skincare. I get my lemon water ready. I'm getting the coffee kind of brewing, but my skincare is what makes me wake up my face. I got to get the crusties out of my eyes, a little bit of water in there, and sometimes eye drops if it's like a really bad day, but not very often. And then totally just immersing my face with hydration. It's so much easier to walk into every room, walk into every moment, walk into every morning routine item when you feel like at least your face isn't trying to fit the mold of a pillow anymore. Like just a little bit of water, a little toner, a little serum, a little moisturizer, and definitely sunscreen because it's never too early for sunscreen. This is what I do. That's how I take care of myself first thing in the morning. Maybe you do some meditation. Maybe you do something that's great for you. You pick up a couple pages of a book you can't put down lately. Whatever it is, what are you doing for you? By the way, grabbing your phone and playing with your phone is not really you doing anything for you. And I'm going to talk about that as well, because all the scrolling and all the checking, that's for the rest of the world. It's not really for you. It's a habit that you've gotten into, and so your body feels like it's for you, but it ain't for you. Okay, so start with something that really takes care of you. And it might fill one of your morning buckets. And I'm going to talk more about that as well. What are those buckets? But start thinking about, what does it mean to actually start the day on your terms? What would be the best way ever to start every day? That's all I did. I reverse engineered that. Well, the best way for me to start every day is to take care of my face so I can feel like I have a fresh face forward in everything that I do. That's my first step, along with internal hydration and caffeination. And that's my next tip. Caffeinate or find your perfect morning beverage. I don't know what it is. I just need a little something to grab onto. I need something to make me feel whole in the morning. I can't just sort of saunter around the house. I need to have like my things. I have like my go-to blanket, whether it's even like hot outside or not. I kind of just have like a blankie moment in the morning. I know it's kind of like childish of me, but I'm super obsessed with my soft blankets, and I'm super obsessed with my lemon water, and I'm super obsessed with finishing that lemon water, being a finisher that I am. I don't just start things, I finish things. It's chronic, I swear. And then being able to hold a hot cup of coffee after that. It is so soothing. And those morning beverages have really set the tone for my morning routine. Sounds silly, may not be for you, but I think a bunch of you can relate on the caffeination front, right? I'm holding a cup of coffee right now. I'm like dying to sip it now that I'm talking about it. But the lemon water is sort of the thing that I said to myself, you know what? I need to make sure I'm getting in my water intake. I'm 100% dehydrated because I've been sleeping for 7 hours. So I need to start with that, and then I can move into the other drinks of the day. And maybe sometimes, every once in a while, there will be a drink at the end of the day that is of the vino department. But typically the drinks I am most excited about every day are a little bit of lemon water in the morning, 16 ounces with half a lemon, and then followed by cup of coffee. Depends on what my husband ground up for the day. My next tip is to avoid obligatory connection with people. Now, there's nothing wrong with people if you thrive off of people in your life and they are a part of your morning routine. Fabulous. Do you? I'm an introvert. I want to be alone. I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to listen to music that has no lyrics because I genuinely don't want any human interaction as early as possible. It doesn't necessarily mean you can't connect with people, like sending somebody a note, but I highly recommend you completely avoid any obligatory connection, which means checking and answering and responding. No email checking, no phone answering, no text responding. Now, if you have a little one crying for you in another room, you're probably going to need to get that. If you have a significant other who's asking you what you're up to, you might want to remind them that you're in the middle of your routine, depending on where you are in the training stage of the humans around you. And I do talk about that. It's not really training, okay? I'm not talking about telling other people what to do. I do talk about how you talk with people in your home about your plans of building a morning routine in the book. But having the obligatory connection is where everybody really gets tripped up. And I don't want you to do that because then we forget who this morning is really for. My next tip is another inspo from the book, and it's a really important one. It's about fulfilling your good morning, good life guidelines, your 3 morning moments. This is my way of saying there is a couple of things that you can check off for your morning that will help you to shape it. Feel like you've had a full morning, whether it's been 15 minutes or a couple of hours. They don't have to be specific actions. Those specific actions are up to you. But these are the buckets I think you should fill so that you can feel like you truly had a morning made to you. The first bucket is movement. What are you going to do to move your body? I personally don't like to work out first thing in the morning, but I do like to do a little stretching, a little skincare, move the muscles around on my face, stuff like that. It doesn't have to be crazy, but do something to move. It's hard enough just putting one foot in front of the other when we're getting out of bed, but there is something we can do to wake up the muscles and stretch in the morning, even if it's not necessarily a workout. Now, you might be a cardio bunny first thing in the morning. Make it happen. That could be your movement bucket, but it's completely up to you. How do you want to start your day? The second bucket is mindfulness. Mindfulness, it can be anything. Again, it can be meditation, but maybe that's not for you either. I've never been a great meditator, even though every time I do it, I feel really good about it. I'm terrible about building the habit of it. But one mindfulness practice I am religious about is my morning pages. I will sit down and I will journal stream of consciousness, 3 pages every morning so I can get the gook and gross and grudges from the previous day off of my mind. So what can you do to be more mindful? Even if you're just wiping down the counter in your kitchen and doing nothing but wiping the counter and just observing yourself doing that. If that makes you feel good, if that is a little bit of mindfulness where you're not putting ideas in your head that are external or looking at your phone or reading something, do something mindful that's truly you connecting with your own individual thoughts. And the last bucket is mastery. What are you doing to become a master at something? Maybe you're waking up earlier because you have dreams of starting your own business or leaving and getting a different kind of job that makes you excited every day, or just learning a foreign language. What is something you want to master, and how much time are you dedicating to it every day? This is your moment to fill that mastery bucket. If it's 15 minutes with a foreign language app, or half an hour researching an industry that you want to get into, or a moment of finding people that you want to know who you are and thinking up ways that you can connect with them and get on their radar by becoming a master at what's important to them, and therefore a strategy for you to get an in with them. It can be literally anything, but knowing what it means to build your mastery is really, really important, because you're probably trying to use this time to build a next stage of your life. So how are you going to do that? Movement, mindfulness, and mastery. You can find out more details in the book about all of that. My last tip is a very important one, and that is that I don't want you to save all of these steps. Most of them you can't anyway, but don't save everything for the morning of. Plan it in advance. Outline your plan, your movement, your mindfulness, your mastery, the time you're going to wake up, the first thing you're going to do to treat yourself, your first beverage of the day, what you're going to wear, everything that you're going to do. Plan it the night before. Or if you want to do the same thing every day and you really want to see how you do 5 days in a row, plan it the week before. But if you don't have a plan when you get up, it's very easy to, even if you got enough sleep, hit the snooze, turn off your alarm, and move into your day. Forget why you were doing it and let the daunting tasks get to you. And then you just kind of don't do anything. You don't do anything of substance that's going to move your life forward. So when you don't wake up with a plan, it's very easy for that extra time to get just as wasted as every other unplanned time in your life. So outline that plan the night before, write it down so you don't forget in your grogginess the next day when you're trying to figure out how to be a human, and don't fail by not having that plan ready to go. Those are my tips for how to wake up at 5 a.m. without failing miserably. I would love to hear which tip you are most excited about trying tomorrow or in the near future when you're going to refresh your morning routine. What was your favorite part of this podcast? Come over and share it on our latest Instagram post at Details Podcast. Just a quick reminder that this episode was sponsored by Good Morning, Good Life, my book, now available on Amazon, Kindle, Audible, whatever you want. And we are doing a little giveaway, so make sure that you chime in with your perfect time and your current time of day that you are waking up on Instagram as well. We will be selecting a winner. But for those of you who just want to get your hands on it right away, you can go to goodmorninggoodlife.com. And we have a special episode of Detail Therapy this Thursday. I'll be sitting down with my friend Ryan Holiday, and in traditional Detail Therapy fashion, we'll be sitting down for an interview so we can get the details from him. We are going to talk about how being still can make you more productive. I know you are interested in hearing this one, so make sure you are subscribed in your favorite podcast player, and don't forget to come back this Thursday for episode 60 of Detail Therapy. That's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it as always. Make sure you subscribe for good vibes, kiss the ones you love, and go after the life you want. See you Thursday. Cheers.